Today, we're diving into a critical topic for anyone looking to succeed in sales and connect deeply with their audience in today's competitive market. Our guest today is Daryl Spreiter, a sales enablement and talent development leader with over 15 years of experience designing and delivering impactful sales enablement, including onboarding and talent development programs, mainly for high-tech growth companies such as Box, Twilio, and Salesforce. He specializes in building programs that develop confident sales professionals with a very high level of conversational readiness. Now, Daryl achieves this through engaging application-oriented experiences that teach reps how to articulate value and drive customer wins. He is also the author of an article, which is linked in the description, called Cracking the Code, The Value Equation for Customer Wins. Now, today, Daryl will walk us through this equation and the essential steps needed to build value messages that capture attention, but most importantly, inspire action. This is a detailed conversation, so please try to stay until the end to benefit from all of his insight. And I personally would like to thank all of our subscribers and welcome any new viewers here. I am Maria White, CEO of Enablement Dojo and co-founder of this wonderful channel, Good Morning Enablement. So please like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you thoughtful conversations. Now, let's get into this. So Daryl introduces a very powerful concept focused on crafting an effective value message that resonates deeply with customer needs and also demonstrates that tangible impact. The article presents a framework visually represented as context plus relevance raised to the power of impact equals customer wins. Sounds difficult, but this framework illustrates how combining an understanding of the customer's context and the relevance of your solution, amplified by the measurable impact, leads to undeniable customer wins. And I am so excited to have a professional such as Daryl to join us here today. Daryl, welcome to the show. I'm really curious to get into this topic with you. So, let's start off, if you don't mind, with your article. I have a question for you. Why do you believe that feature dumping isn't effective anymore? And what is needed instead?
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. And first of all, it's so good to be here and to see you again. And I'm really proud of what you've done with this amazing podcast. And I'm really honored to be a part of it as well. And very excited to come and talk to you and in the audience about the value equation. And I think what I would like to do is just start by sharing that, we see this all the time in business. A company matures, from a product sale to now a platform or solution sale. And it requires a shift in how companies market themselves and how salespeople talk to or connect with their prospects and their customers. It requires a powerful value message to connect with new buyers and resonate in the market today.
Yeah.
And all of this value equation came from my time a few years back when we worked together at Twilio. I crafted what I then called my value prop formula, and we introduced it into our sales onboarding program. Today, I refer to that as the value equation. But this value prop formula became a simple way to help our sales reps remember and convey a powerful yet very simple value message that moved beyond just a product and a use case example. And so to answer your question today, buyers are savvy in today's market. We do all of the research we need. We have all the answers that we have the questions, we find the answers, and we really do engage oftentimes with companies when we're ready to make that purchase. But we're also limited in really what we know about the true capabilities and the expansive offering that many of these companies offer. And so for reps to be stuck in a product and a use case just isn't effective anymore. We can find those things out on the internet all day, every day. And so for that, this value message becomes a fantastic tool to create a memorable story to connect with those customers. And I'm excited to dive into this with you today.
Excellent. And of course, as mentioned earlier, you introduced a powerful concept, Daryl, context plus relevance to the power of impact equals customer wins. Can you help our audience understand by explaining what this value equation represents and why each element, the context, the relevance, and the impact, is crucial for achieving those customer wins?
Sure. Well, let's break this down and we'll just take it piece by piece. It starts with context. Understanding the customer's business inside and out and showing that you get them by speaking their language and anticipating their needs. This is about going out there and being really good at deep discovery, being genuinely curious. But more importantly, it's about developing an ability to speak the language of that customer. We've all heard, if you've been in sales for any amount of time, that you are going to be matched with the person you sound like. So if you're talking in one way that, may not be oriented toward revenue or impact, that you want to connect with an executive, you may get pushed down the line to a different level person. And so that business acumen really is the key to getting into these value conversations with the right level buyer at these companies. So that's context, understanding who they are through good discovery and then speaking their language. Next, you're going to add that to relevance. And relevance is simply showing how the insights you gain solve a customer's specific issues. Unveiling solutions perhaps they haven't even considered possible. So getting beyond what they can find out on the internet by just doing a search on what you do and what your offering is, and really starting to show them that, hey, there's a lot of ideas here that we can explore to show you paths forward that you may never have considered. And when you combine those things together with the third piece, which is business impact, showing that we're going to get beyond the what and the how it works to the so what and why this matters to you. And that means it's not just about what it is or what it does, but what it achieves for your business, moving from features or capabilities to truly tangible value that is going to impact that business. When you put those three things together, it becomes a very, very powerful statement that does lead to increased customer wins.
Obviously, to me, it makes perfect sense. I've seen this in action, and you did fantastic work there in Twilio. So, let's break down the first step in the equation, Daryl, uncovering the context. You mentioned that this requires some really deep discovery, and of course, your own foundational business acumen. What does uncovering context truly involve? And how can someone develop, if they don't have it, the business acumen needed to speak the language of their buyers, the buyer's business or industry, and show up with that credibility?
Yeah, fantastic question. And, this is rooted in Sales 101. It's about being genuinely curious in the company, the business, the industry. And, today we have these remarkable Gen AI tools that help us do so much of this. Probably for both of us, we prepared with a chat GPT or some kind of a Gen AI tool to help us organize some of our thoughts. Developing, uncovering we'll pause there. Uncovering context and developing business acumen is so easy with today's tools out there in the AI market. So, for example, with context, it's about understanding who this company is, what they do, what their business challenges might be, what market conditions they might face, what challenges they might meet in the marketplace or competitive situations, and really understanding that. The business acumen comes in when it is time to speak the language of the customer. Think of a really basic example with Salesforce. Mm-hmm. Most of us know Salesforce. And in Salesforce, you have the concept of a leads tab and an opportunities tab. But if you're selling into government or to nonprofits, they certainly don't call their constituents leads and their donations opportunities. Yeah. And so when a person would go out and try to sell into those industries, talking about how many leads do you get, they're completely losing their credibility there because a nonprofit does not have leads. They have constituents, and they have donors, they have development managers and so forth. So it's just learning that language that adds to the credibility and authority that you have as a salesperson going in there with an eye toward genuinely solving their problems first by getting to know them and how they operate.
That's excellent. And when you move to your second step, if I could be so bold as to kind of go there, because that was step one. Now, the relevancy, the presenting relevant use cases and based on the customer needs, how does the individual ensure that the use cases they present are truly relevant to the specific customer context that you have just uncovered from all of that discovery and research?
Yeah, so the use case comes through when you are talking to the customer in those initial and ongoing discovery conversations. You're learning about what prompted their interest in your company or your solution. You're learning about what their business challenges are. You're learning about what's holding them back in the marketplace or how they might be not competing as effectively in the marketplace. Those are where you're getting the relevant concepts to align your value and your use cases toward. So, for example, when the pandemic hit back in 2020, we saw call centers shutting down everywhere because employees, call center agents were working from home.
Yeah.
And now these businesses had to completely shift how they were operating and deal with an entire now remote call center environment. Without knowing that and understanding the pain that that's causing, how do you expect to align your product toward a solution that will inspire them to take action on it? It really is taking the time to listen, to learn, and uncover as much as you can about that. And that all happens, as we know, from discovery. And discovery is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing occurrence. It's something that should always be happening. And it's really the key to unlocking that relevance, which leads to that value statement.
Understood. So, I think what you're saying is that showcasing the use cases as the art of the possible is how you could do this during your conversation with the customer. Could you elaborate a little bit on how demonstrating a specific capability that you've uncovered in that discovery, like automating routine tasks with AI, as you mentioned, helps open the customer eyes to the potential of your solution?
Sure. In the article that I wrote, I share one example, and I've got several of these that we could explore later in the conversation as well, if you'd like. But let's take agentic AI or Gen AI today. It's out there in the marketplace. Every company is exploring it. They're looking at it. And it's really an exciting time in the marketplace today. And here's a really good example of agentic AI as a solution for a company. With our agentic AI ticketing system, your customer support agents can resolve tickets 30% faster. This is important because it reduces average handling time, lowers operational costs, and increases customer satisfaction. A good example of this is how a customer service company reduced their average ticket resolution time from 10 minutes to 7 minutes, saving them thousands of hours per month. Right there, it shows I have an understanding of where they're at in their business, the challenges that they're facing, and the opportunities that our solution can provide to them. In this case, time equals money. And it's a great way of positioning something like agentic AI, which we understand process automation or workflow automation, but let's really turn that into that art of the possible and show them by doing these things, you can have significant business impact.
So thank you, Daryl. The third step is aligning relevance to business impact and value. How do you make the shift from discussing relevant use cases to clearly articulating the tangible business impact and value, such as the ROI or the increased productivity or even time savings, like in your previous example?
Yeah, this is where the magic of this value equation really comes in, Maria. It is so easy and yet so often overlooked. So if we think about this, we've introduced a product, a capability or solution. We've shared this example use case to open up their eyes, think about where they could go with it. And then the next part comes in, which is, this is important, or this is valuable, or this is beneficial because, and now you insert that value statement. But you're calling it out specific to them. You're saying, with this, you can do this, and this is valuable because. And in the previous example, it was reducing call agent response time from 10 minutes to 7 minutes. But it's just a turn of phrase there that helps put the story into their minds. When you're out there talking to your buyers, your customers, what do you want them to be able to do? Turn around, go inside their company and champion on your behalf. And when they have this formula at their disposal, because you've introduced it to them in this very simple and memorable way, they could take that value prop, that value equation message, and bring it anywhere in their company and help continue to champion your solution internally. But it's just a simple, really effective way, calling it out in plain English. This is valuable because, and then talk about that impact.
So just kind of like pulling it together a little bit, you emphasize shifting from product-based, we spoke about earlier, to value-based messaging. Very different. And so what does value-based messaging sound like in practice? And how do metrics and results play a role?
Yeah. So in practice, this should be something that is delivered. Again, you've done your discovery, you've gotten the information you need from them, you understand their business and their needs, you understand what pain or challenge they may be facing, and you've now taken the time to craft this compelling value message to them. The connection there then becomes an easy and memorable way to convey these messages. Think about a company. We were talking about Twilio earlier. It's not just one capability or one solution that they had. They had an entire customer engagement platform. Most companies today are switching toward a platform sale, and they're having to educate their market again now, or re-educate their market on who they are today. AI has created incredible opportunities for companies to shift in what they're doing and what they've been able to build and offer to the public. It requires a new way of talking about that and reintroducing themselves. And value has to be a big part of that. When you start to introduce value into everything that you're doing, again, you're giving them the ability to take your message internally and sell upward to get that deal done. You're really showing them how this is going to help with them in their own aspirations, whether that's to create a more productive business, to grow in their role or their career as a leader or a thought leader. There's a lot of things we can appeal to them, but this value message is going to help them take that and run with it.
Fantastic. Now, what's really interesting to me is in your article, you also discuss the importance of helping customers quantify the cost of inaction, something hardly any sellers probably thinks about naturally. So why is understanding the cost of their current challenges or doing nothing a really powerful part of the value conversation? And how can you guide customers to quantify this pain?
You know, the world has changed so much in the last 5 years, not just with the pandemic, but just about how companies. Now, I'm in the cloud industry, the software industry, my whole career, so I'm thinking about it from that perspective. We used to be driven by revenue. How much revenue were we making year over year? And if it was 20% or 30%, these were incredible, fast-growing, highly profitable or highly revenue-generating companies. But we really measured our success on revenue. Well, all of that has changed with the rule of 40, where we're now evaluating profitability with cost. So to be able to go out there with a message that says, and there's two ways you can manage this. One, a lot of companies now, as they're growing, they're able to invest in value consulting, business value teams, where they have really expansive ROI and value calculators they can plug a bunch of information into. And out of that comes a great presentation and deck that they can take out. But there's also this other way of doing it, which is the value equation, which requires just a little bit of back of the napkin math, asking a few questions. How many agents do you have? What's the average call time? How many calls can you take in an hour? Well, now, what if we could speed that up by 1 or 2 or cut that by 10%? You can do some very simple back of the math that requires, and I'm not a math person, which is really funny considering I'm writing about an equation here. I'm not the math guy, but even I can do some of that basic, simple math that allows you to just plug it right into your value message at the end. An even better way of doing this is everyone wants to know, well, what's the other guy doing? And the value prop formula ends with, and a good example of this is what we're seeing over at Dell or what we're seeing happen over at Apple or at this other company, just like you. They've made use of a solution. Here was their use case, and this is the results that we saw. So there's that's really the fourth component of that, is bringing in that customer example at the end. We all want to know what others are doing out there. And if there's companies like us or our competitors doing something, well, we certainly want to know about that as well. And that helps with making a decision internally.
Wow, Daryl, amazing information. So finally, bringing it all together, your article concludes by saying that crafting effective value messages is a journey that moves beyond selling features. So what is the ultimate goal of this journey? And how does focusing on understanding context, demonstrating relevance, and quantifying impact lead to creating a spark and helping customers achieve their goals?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic conversation. I really did enjoy it. And, the key word in what you mentioned there in your question was the word spark. The whole focus on this, the whole goal of this value equation is to create that spark, that light bulb moment, introducing a new idea, a future or an ideal state that they hadn't thought of themselves, showing them how you can uniquely solve their problems. It's a competitive market out there. You, the audience, your company is not the only one that sells whatever it is that you're selling. We're all out there competing every day. We have to be able to differentiate ourselves. Of course, we're going to differentiate through our marketing, through our product, our features, our capabilities, and solution sets. But let's not forget the most powerful asset we have, which is our sales team, our sales organization, who must be able to go out there and also do an effective job differentiating themselves, their company, their solutions from the rest of the marketplace. And having something that is simple and easy to remember develops what I call conversational readiness.
Yeah.
And conversational readiness is just equipping your sales team with the preparedness, the confidence to go out there and have the right conversation with the right buyer at the right time. And this value equation helps set up a prepared workforce with confidence to go out there and deliver an effective message. And this is a topic, Maria, I would love to come back and talk about conversational readiness on the next podcast. But that to me is what this is all about today, is preparing our teams to go out there and really be effective selling on our behalf with a value message leading the way.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There's some very insightful final closing thoughts there. So to wrap things up, and again, thank you, Daryl. Daryl's value message framework, context plus relevance to the power of impact equals customers wins, offers a simple yet powerful formula for creating messages that truly connect by deeply understanding your customer's world, the context, aligning your solution to what actually matters to them, the relevance, and backing it all up with real measurable impact. You can create value that's not just heard, but felt. This isn't about selling harder. It's actually about connecting smarter. So focus on these elements, and you're not just making a pitch, you're delivering a win your customer can believe in. And on that note, thank you so very much again, Daryl. The link to your article is in the description, and I will take you up on the offer to come back for a podcast on conversational readiness. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.